I'm getting ready to build rebuild a second Hitachi single cell screwdriver battery. And I'm going to use this welder this time. It's, I don't know how many MOSFETs that is. I got this on Banggood. I paid almost $30 for it. And it's, this is the advertisement. It's a, that's their Banggood, I think, in-house brand. I see a loose capacitor. So we have two needles or probes. They're already crimped into some 12 AWG silicone insulated wire. They're not insulated yet. That's provided here. The shrink tube. And there's two pieces of number 10 to connect to the power source. There's 4 screws and nuts, but there's only 3 holes. It says 12 to 16 volts only. I guess this is the space to be occupied by the capacitor. And following the traces, it looks as if the capacitor, it will end up on the control voltage side of D1, which is an isolation diode. Appears to be an LED and a push button. And the buzzer will end up going here. Long leg of the buzzer is positive. There's also a paper flap that says positive. So this one, they already anticipated the need for the capacitor to hold up the control voltage. Understand that capacitor does not hold up the welding current. It supplies nothing to the welding current. It can't, because it gets its charge through a diode. It can't come back and supply positive voltage or current to this lead. It's a one-way diode, they all are. And it merely holds up the control voltage. We also got our sample of nickel strip. So I'll do some work and come back to this. Well, I've attached the battery connector, shrink wrapped the terminals. I've paired the battery wires with this piece of shrink wrap, and also covered the exposed copper up to the edge of the board. I've done the same thing here on the negative needle connection. I've shrink wrapped it up to the edge of the board. And I applied their shrink wrap, and you can see it doesn't quite cover that. Well, I forgot to do that. I covered it on the negative one with an additional piece of shrink wrap. If I do get at the shrink wrap again, I'll get a piece of this. Now this board only has 2 mounting holes. One here and one here. There's no more. Taking a piece of copper plated one side FR4 material, put 2 little standoffs on it. These 2 holes, I think I can put a piece of tie wrap on the red lead to hold this end of the whatever you want to call that, protective board, I guess. With the exception of this little piece of additional shrink tube. I'm going to call this complete. The battery terminals are on it. I've tie wrapped the red wire to the board. Standoffs. These are the shortest standoffs that were available in my assortment. And you can see they just cleared the wire. The way the bottom's not exposed. Now this is, but takes two to tango, and everything else is pretty well covered up. The battery, I've got the battery on a charger now. It appears to be fully charged. Got the battery over here. There it is. Push the button. Oh, well, that was interesting. It welded. I'll hold it down longer. Get our flux can. And while I'm doing this, look how they spelled this. S-O-D-E-R, soldering. No L. Well, that seemed more powerful. Jesus. I guess it's time to weld two pieces of nickel together. No, that didn't do anything. That welded. That welded very well. One of them welded, one of them didn't. I tore that apart. Turned red for a change. And it's not that welded clear through the nickel into the can. Welded very well. Take two pieces of nickel and just lay them on top of each other. All right. I cannot move them apart. Now, granted, I did some heavy-duty welding there. And there is no felt heat. Red. No light at all. Does that mean it's not going to weld at all? We've shut it off. Well, that's what it means. So we have an infrequent green. Does that seem slower? That's a green double blink. That's a red. Doesn't look red in my monitor, but it's red to me. Can't make it out on the camera. And then it's off. But it did weld. It did a good job welding when it was up on red. I'll proceed on to prepare to weld my battery back. And I'll take my soldering flux, no L, and put it aside for the next time. So this is what was this? Oh, this was a $30 Banggood welder. A bunch of welds, no heat at all. No heat in the wires. No heat in the battery plug.